Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this Squared Up webinar on cross-platform monitoring. Now, before we get started, just a note, we usually run a little topic survey before we start the webinar, but today we've changed that. We'd like to know about your cross-platform and cloud monitoring needs. This is always an area of interest to us. What different tools and platforms people are actually using? What do they have a requirement to be able to monitor? So it would really help us out and our guests as well if you could go and take a short survey. It's only a couple of questions at squaredup.com/crossplat, where we'll be able to then sort of ask you what you need to have monitored, and hopefully that will come to some new management packs being written and some of your challenges being solved. Anyway, today we are going to be looking at cross-platform monitoring with NiCE. So last week, for those of you who were on our previous webinar, we were talking to one of our customers, Sean Williams at Purdue University, and one of the things that struck us was that so much of his environment wasn't Windows, wasn't in-house tools. It was actually, a lot of it was cross-platform or sort of cloud-based services. So that's a topic we thought was actually really important to talk about, because it's all well and good having your sort of 20% of your Windows estate, but actually if the rest of your business is running on Linux, you need to have that monitored.
Yeah, and I think what last week's demo showed was how seamless the experience is with Squared Up on top of SCOM now. SCOM's always been able to monitor those different platforms. With Squared Up, that's sort of evened out. You can move between Windows boxes to Linux boxes to network devices. We saw that with F5 monitoring as well, and really it's a nice consistent experience. Everyone can engage with that data. So I think cross-platform monitoring is now a really successful story with SCOM, so we thought we'd focus on that a little bit more with the experts in cross-platform monitoring, which are nice.
Yep, absolutely. So with that, I'd like to introduce Christian Heitkamp, who's on from NiCE. So hi, Christian.
Yes, hey, hello together. Thanks for having me on today. I'm pleased to join your session, and looking forward to it.
Thanks very much. So NiCE really are the experts, and they've brought in a lot of management packs to the community and also to obviously their customers that help us monitor Oracle and Linux systems and a whole bunch of other stuff. So Christian's going to talk us through that as well. But we're also going to take this a little bit further than just cross-platform monitoring and start looking at some of the sort of external systems that you might be monitoring as well, whether that's Office 365, whether that's sort of SAP, Salesforce, there's other sort of systems you have where you integrate with those platforms, you make use of their services, and they're key to your business, so they need to be monitored. We're also going to look at Christian's or NiCE's log file monitoring management pack. And I think this really speaks to the need where, okay, you've got all the platforms being monitored from your different vendors, but you've got in-house applications, and those need monitoring too. And those teams are going to come to you and say, we've got specialist needs, we've got events that need monitoring on, we need health that needs to highlight different things in the app. So how can we get that onto a dashboard? And Christian's got a wonderful solution for that, so we'll talk through that there as well. And then at the end, we're going to have some sneak peeks, both of some stuff that NiCE is working on, but also on a few bits from Squared Up. And we've got for those of you who may not know, we have a 3.2 release webinar on Thursday. So we're going to be showing off our brand new release of Squared Up then. But for people who are on the webinar but not the recording, we're going to show off a couple of bits from that as well. So stay on the line to the end of the call. Absolutely.
Yeah. Great. And I think we invited Christian on to speak primarily on cross-platform monitoring, but I think it really is interesting that NiCE themselves do more than just cross-platform monitoring. So it's really nice to sort of broaden this webinar out and use this opportunity to speak to Christian and see what NiCE are doing in those sort of two other areas as well. So we have Christian, we have a slide up here describing what management packs you do. Nice that the kings of cross-plat. I'm just going to make that clear. That's our phrase, not Christian's, not NiCE's. Christian's a very modest gent, and I'm sure wouldn't claim to be the king of cross-platform. But from our point of view, they certainly seem to be. I think kind of Christian's been in this business for a long time. NiCE deliver all of these management packs. Really, if there's anything to be known about cross-platform monitoring with SCOM, then Christian and the team at NiCE will know it, and that's for sure. So Christian, I think it'd be great just to hand over to you and for you to sort of talk us through the array of management packs that you have in this space.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Richard. Just a quick and thanks for the kings. That's great. So indeed, we actually come from the cross-platform area. We didn't know how to spell Windows like 10 years back, so we really come from the green screen area, if you like. So, and I myself, like the first, if you see DB2 here, say, well, DB2, well, that was actually the first database I worked with, and I'm still certified DB2 administrator, so since a long time. So, and but then, after DB2, this is one of our management packs, and the one we probably work most with today is Oracle. Most larger companies have some Oracle either on Windows, so as well also on Linux or AIX or one of the other systems. Matter of fact is that I just came back from a customer on Friday where they actually run SAP with an Oracle database, and guess the Oracle database is running on HPOX. And this is not something which is considered old. They're rolling out new HPOX system on the Itanium for that. So it is real estate here. They really have a lot of database on there, and we've been developing our Oracle management pack very stable over the last I think 7-8 years now. But we started back with monitoring of Oracle already in 2001, so has a long history here. So we have a couple of other management packs here. So you run the BlackBerry, this is still around. So well, if you have seen the stock prices in last quarter on the BlackBerry, you've seen has went up all the way. Still, the licenses deployed are not going the same direction, but still, after BlackBerry acquired Good for Enterprise a year back, so we still actually have increased demand for that as well. And Domino, yeah, well, there are still some larger shops having Domino out there and can't get rid of it, typically because of the applications, the application servers. So this is not in terms of mail, but it's in terms of application usage. Then we've got the SAP domain, and that's done together with a partner from California. We have a strategic alliance since 6 years now, so where we work together on doing the best we can for monitoring SAP, HANA, ASE, BobJ, all of that in the SAP HANA space and SAP area. So if you have SAP out there and like to get information, I'd love to talk to you about that, so I can give you some more details. But that's definitely one of the things we are working on right now. And actually, we're preparing also for SquaredUp here a dashboard for the customers using SquaredUp and the SAP Management Pack to have a good visualization of that.
Excellent.
Well, yeah, so there are more things like I-Series, Z-Series. We do with EVU as a partner together. Then the Z-Linux Management Pack, that's something we develop. And yeah, that's always, that's an interesting one. And yeah, and then obviously all the iron down at the PowerPC at AIX and Veritas that are cluster solutions. We also do monitor that as well. So just a quick run through, Richard. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them. So
yeah, I was going to say, if anyone on live, wants to just drop us a note to say whether they're monitoring any of those or have any of those in their environment, that would be interesting to see, or anything not on that list, I guess, that we need to get you guys working on to make sure we've got full coverage. But just going to go back to the story, I think you said just last week you were setting up monitoring for SAP. So that was SAP running on Oracle, running on HP UX. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes, that's correct.
All monitored by SCOM.
Yeah, that's all monitored by SCOM actually, and well, they're using then SquaredUp on top actually to visualize all that. So and pretty cool actually. It works. But the point was really that if you're talking about OMS and other things where they even have not an idea about HPOX, but for us this is like every day we consume that. We work with those types of customers.
Yeah. Awesome. So that's a really awesome list of management packs there. I think what we've done is added an extra management pack on the list there, which doesn't necessarily fit with the others. So your log file management pack, which is a top community management pack. We've recently just been running a campaign promoting an infographic, sort of a PDF we had promoting a number of sort of community management packs, and we had that one right up there. It's sort of really well received by the community, and generally always is sort of on the list of top sort of community management packs out there. I thought it'd be good to take a moment just to sort of run through that with you, put a sort of slide together, just sort of summarizing it. I think most people hopefully should know about it, but I think it'd be interesting just to recap on what it is and why you guys developed that.
Yes, sure. Thanks. So first of all, maybe for those who have like thinking about now, oh, Linux, this is not my space. First, this management pack is for Windows, right? And the second, it's free. So it's a community management pack, as I mentioned. You can download it from our website, basically. So and why did we do that? So first, obviously, is that the SCOM native capabilities of log file monitoring are limited. So primarily, if you go down this list here, so we support wildcards. Obviously, this is a no-brainer. We have that in SCOM as well. But already, how is the behavior if the log file doesn't exist? So actually, you write the rule in SCOM, an alert rule, and you put a condition in there. You would like to have an alert popping up if that specific entry exists in log file. But in that case, the log file isn't written. So the problem actually can't even be reported. So in that case, you have an undetermined behavior. So you can't really configure the error that you should get. There's an event log entry, but it's not picked up. You would need to create a rule for that. So it is something we addressed in that you can actually define how it should behave. And for example, if the log file isn't there, it might be also a normal use case during a rotation of a log file. So if a log file is rotated, then it's not there. And if that gets an error in that moment, it's also not desired. So there's a couple of enhancements we have done in our log file management pack. Actually, it's a full DLL. It's a C# provider which plugs into the health service. So there's a lot of code behind that. Well, the next features are really here, like recursively process subdirectories, and next to get like a powerful filtering language here, that we're using regular expressions. So regex might be not the most common used languages in the Windows world, but it's very powerful. And yeah, we actually made some efforts to make that as easy as possible, providing examples and so on.
Yeah, I've certainly been there having to create like hundreds of different event rules because it didn't support regex, and that's kind of annoying.
And I mean, the list goes on. I mean, lots of long and short. It takes log file monitoring and does it properly, right? Sort of kind of replaces the built-in SCOM capabilities and really gives you the entire flexibility. I think what's quite nice, how this sort of fits in with the discussions we've been having on the coffee break over the last few weeks around application monitoring is really, when it comes to monitoring applications, regardless of sort of what platform, you're very likely needing to add log file monitoring to really sort of round out that monitoring solution. Most likely, the application team will say, well, hey, we haven't written stuff to the event log, and we don't have a management pack dedicated to this application and so on. But actually, there is this log file entry that if it appears, we want to be emailed sort of straight away, or we want to see the number of times that it appears every day.
And log monitoring is also a great way when you've got an app where you're not necessarily an expert in it. Maybe it's an old legacy app and no one really owns it now. And you can say, well, actually, just if we get these common terms inside a log file, we know something's wrong.
Yeah, the log file is often the most sort of transparent thing about the application, right? Is you normally know where the log files are. You can open up in a text editor and see what's going on.
If the word error appears in there, it's probably a problem.
Yeah.
Like they're the ultimate truth, I say, because that what's in there is written by the application. And yeah, maybe one thing, if you have like a class model for your application, you mentioned application monitoring. So you have these monitoring, these authoring wizards in there, like 140 different authoring wizards you can use also to create monitors. So let's say you have a positive entry and a negative entry in that should trigger state change on your monitor, and you attach it to the application you discovered, then you're already done. And you can do that through the wizards in the product.
Great. So get that management pack in, and then any requirement that your application team have, hopefully now the answer is yes, I can do that. Not a problem. Great. So that was sort of one management pack that I think was really interesting. I think the other one on the list, if we go back to the list, sort of Matthew, that's probably even more of a surprise, is Office 365, or an active Office 365 management pack. What on earth is this doing on the list, Christian? Where does this come from? Kind of tell us more about this.
Yeah, that keeps me busy at night, this one. It's really a new approach to monitoring Office 365. So some of you might know the Microsoft Office 365 management pack you can download from Microsoft. But as you know, this is just like an integration into the status dashboard. So it will just get you like a status information, or like, is the data center okay, or does the data center have a problem? So the Azure data center. So it doesn't give you really information about your tenant. So let's say you can't send mails between in your hybrid deployment. So or Skype doesn't work, or your login doesn't work. So that all that information, you will only be told by users that there's a problem. So, or you have a third-party solution. So this actually targets at that market, because right now there's no management pack for SCOM or for another monitoring solution that integrates completely into the solution. You can buy can get a standalone solution to monitor Office 365 and then build a connector for that again. But this is actually a native management pack that integrates into SCOM and will cover your needs for Office 365.
So a few things that jumped out at me, Christian, on this. First off, on the features list, the active probing for user verification, is that essentially synthetic transactions?
Yes, it is actually. We have built like our own client to do the transaction checks. So we don't use these SCOM synthetic transactions, which actually it's not directly integrated in SCOM in that term that we rely on all the data sources and everything. But we have our own collector that does the synthetic transactions. So in this case, you define a user that if user will then do a transaction like sending, for example, an email out and check if everything is is okay, or will do a calendar invite. For example, it does a poll of availability request from on a mailbox that is on your on-premise, and it does it from Exchange online in Office 365, and then measures basically the time that takes to schedule that event, and then obviously it will cancel the request just to check if it works. So, and then the same happens for email, for round trip times. There are a couple of those active probing synthetic transactions in there.
So go back to what Sean was doing last week with the Blackboard, where he had all the synthetic transactions. This is the same thing, like measure what your users are trying to do. Like, can your users send mail? Can they see calendar entries? And that really gives you the full perspective of what's actually happening.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's this user experience that we measure, because that is currently what nobody knows. This is only when the users don't have a good experience they call you, right? So, but we try to be proactive on that and give the admin an alert.
And how does this sit with on-prem Exchange?
So on-prem Exchange typically is still monitored by the Exchange Management Pack, so we don't re-implement what's already there on your Exchange on-prem. But if you have the hybrid deployment with ADFS and AAD Connect, currently there's not a good management pack out there that can do all of that in an active way. So we actually integrated the ADFS and AAD Connect. We're working on that right now. So to integrate that, so also you have the complete monitoring of your hybrid deployment in there. So if you just have traditional Exchange on-prem 2013, 2016, you can still configure and try to configure the Exchange Management Pack. So this is really like for hybrid or Office 365 only deployments.
And I saw also on the list of technologies OMS mentioned. What's the story there?
So basically, we designed this management pack in a way that it doesn't require the management server, the SCOM environment as you have it today. So as you see here, we have the health service, and within there we have this collector. In OMS, you would kind of cut off the Ops Manager DB and data warehouse and directly use a forwarding or ingestion service to OMS. So basically, all the data, the metric data and the log data and everything will be pushed to OMS and will be then available there to be crafted as a OMS solution. So this is then completely without having a SCOM deployment. You still can use obviously the SCOM management server and use the integration there, but it can also live without the SCOM environment. That's the basic of the architecture. But in the first release approach, we will have the management pack and then have the OMS solution coming up later.
Great. And I saw also you're planning support for SharePoint Online as well as Link for Business as well, which I guess will be very, very well received as well. So am I right in thinking it's currently in beta or about to reach a beta release?
Yeah, right now, good point. Thanks for bringing that up. Right now, we are looking for beta customers who are willing to give this a try. So the reason why we have an extended beta program is here because everybody has like a kind of a different configuration, especially in hybrid scenarios. So we kind of like to get as many as possible to look at that and see if that is a fit here with the solution. So and give this a try. So if you're interested, just go to our website at NiCE.de and sign up for the beta program, and we'll within the next couple of weeks we'll have the beta bits out to you, and then you can give it a try in your environment.
So the more complex the setup, the better the beta customer. You're looking for the most horrendous sort of convoluted setup.
Yeah, give us some challenges. Yes,
make Christian's life difficult,
and hopefully also a squared up customer, and we'll be building some beautiful squared up dashboards on top of O365 monitoring as well. Fantastic. I guess that's been a sort of a good couple of diversions away from the main topic, cross-platform monitoring, but really, really interesting stuff, and we wanted to make sure we covered it in this coffee break. But let's move on to the main topic. So looking at cross-platform monitoring, what we thought we would do is structure this by just diving straight into a hands-on demo with squared up and the management packs and the dashboard packs available, rather than kind of more slides. What we'll also do is maybe turn the tables a little bit. I have to admit that I'm the opposite to you, Christian. I kind of came from a Windows world and still trying to figure out what on earth this whole kind of Linux, Unix and other sort of space is and what all the distros are. So I'm going to turn the tables a little bit and pose questions both to you and Matthew here, my sort of kind of colleague who is definitely much more of a Linux expert than I am. And we'll maybe kind of just walk through a couple of scenarios using squared up with cross-platform monitoring and maybe explore some of the issues and sort of some of the tips and tricks that we'll encounter. So Matthew, first up with you. So we've got our lab here.
Yep.
Probably one of the places where we often most talk about cross-platform monitoring and Linux monitoring is in the context of VADA.
Yes.
So discovering an application that spans both sort of Windows and Linux boxes.
Yep.
It's a really neat feature. I think it's 3.1 where we released support for Linux.
Yes.
How does that work? What do customers need in order to get the sort of magic to work across Linux as well?
Well, as you said a couple of times before, VADA is powered by the Data on Demand management pack. So we have a management pack for Linux as well, Data on Demand Unix Linux management pack. So that enables the tasks that VADA needs to get the data it needs, so NetStat data from your Unix systems as well. So if you try and run VADA on a Unix system, and when I say Unix system, I mean one that's supported by SCOM. So you've got the SCOM agent monitoring your Unix box, find it in Squared Up, go to App Discovery. First thing it might do is say, hey, I need the management pack. And it's got a download link there. So you click there, down there, import the management pack, as you normally would. And from that point on, you can now do discovery on your Unix systems. And it works exactly the same as it would on Windows. So you can see here, this is a Unix server. We've got this app server talking into it, and I can start expanding out and mapping our application. These are Windows servers here in this particular case. So let's call this database here. And this works, as you'd expect, basically on a Windows system. If I drill down, if I go to the analyze mode, you get health state as well. Now, we do have a Linux dashboard pack. So you can see here for this Oracle system, we've got metrics being pulled through. And if I click on the Oracle server, I don't mind losing changes.
So the task that the management pack adds is just a NetStat task, almost identical to the Windows task, but one that runs on Linux.
So in terms of like permissions and requirements, all that does is just run NetStat and then pipes it through. But because we need the process information so we can map the network traffic to the actual the caller and what's creating it, we need to be able to run PS as a elevated process. So you might need to talk to your Linux admin and make sure that your configuration in Linux and in SCOM is set up correctly so that you'll be able to actually run PS as an elevated process. Now, if in SCOM you've been given the root account, and that's what you've plugged in, and there's no elevation options turned on, you'll be good to go. Or if you configured it, you configured the RANAS profiles correctly, so you said, okay, the normal monitoring account doesn't have elevated rights, and then you can use this account for privileged access. That will all work seamlessly as well. If you start getting weird errors when you're running it, saying like no TTY is determined and things like that, it means your sudo as configuration isn't set up properly. And that's there you need to go back to your Unix Linux admin then and work with them to get the PS and NetStat tasks added so that they could be run as elevated processes by the agent.
And we've got some KB articles.
There's a KB article.
I'm lost already. Good, right? So
we talked through the SCOM configuration on that, but again, because your flavor of Unix and also your security setup will differ, we kind of tell you what you need to do, but then again, you need to go back to your sort of distro admin and say, okay, this is what I need. Can you then help me configure this? Obviously, if you go to community answers and post a question there, hey, I've got AIX or I've got CentOS or whatever. How do I configure this? And someone's bound to help you out with that. And we'll help where we can on support, but we don't have every distro, unlike Christian.
Yeah, so we also kind of download this, and I'm just happy that yesterday a new version was posted, so we put it already in there. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
And in the demo there, Matthew, we're discovering a Linux server running Oracle.
Yes.
But at that stage, we didn't need the Oracle management pack, or we didn't need any Oracle monitoring at that point. That's just using the NetStat on Linux to determine that. And we find the Oracle processes are what's connected.
That's at that point, all we can tell is, okay, there's an Oracle process that's consuming data. So we also have in here the Oracle management pack from NiCE, and that enables us now to start getting perspectives like this one. Now, I'm going to let Christian show that stuff off in his environment, because much like last week, our environment's demo environment, there isn't really much very interesting going on here. But one thing I do want to call everyone's attention to is these perspectives on the top. These perspectives are available to everyone in our Linux service dashboard pack. If you don't have that imported, all you'll see when you go to Linux server by default is the monitored entity view. All these perspectives will be missing. So to get that, if you just go to the settings at the top and go import dashboard packs, and also for those of you who've got the Oracle management pack from NiCE, if you just pop Linux in here, there's a dashboard pack for just generic Linux servers. So install that and you'll get all the perspectives for your Linux server, and you'll get your VADA perspective. And then if you install the Oracle Linux pack from NiCE, if you've got the the Oracle management pack from NiCE as well, then you'll get some additional perspectives and drill downs and things there.
And of course, you can mix it up. You can have Oracle running on Windows, and then there's the relevant management pack from NiCE and the relevant dashboard pack for Squared Up for that as well.
Exactly.
So great. Shall we switch over to Christian's environment, and Christian can kind of take us through some of the deep dive on on these dashboards?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me hand over control now. Change presenter to Christian.
Perfect. Let me move this a bit away. So the perspective. So I just pulled up the perspective for Oracle databases here on Linux. We have a Linux server here, and the data we collect basically with the Oracle Management Pack is really that for DBA. So in case you have an Oracle DBA who like just comes in the morning and like to see like what's going on in my Oracle system, that can basically pull up these dashboards here. So it gives you information on CPU utilization. If you say now, well, I got that already through the agent, I have the CPU utilization, you're mistaken, because this is the CPU utilization that is reported by Oracle. So Oracle, it's basically an Oracle metric which measures the utilization of CPU. And if you have like an application running on the Linux servers and you have like a couple of instances for Oracle, it's very hard to tell actually which of the process actually like causes now most of the CPU usage or the Oracle instances. So why this, you can actually then immediately identify the root cause of that. As well, if there are issues going on with suspended sessions or IO, and you get like as well here the alerts, the current alerts from the Oracle instance here popping in. So you can actually have a very quick overview of what is going on. Typically, Oracle DBAs are concerned about table spaces. So we have a little widget here with the status of all the table spaces. So we can actually then go in here and change the perspective to the to this monitored entity, and right in here you have the different monitors for that table space, for that specific table space. And actually we see we have fragmentation on this table space here, and then all the other things are good. We have availability on the data files, table space free extends, table space free space, all green, all good. So and and that then typically you can create a ticket, or there's also an alert that's been forwarded. The additional properties we discover for each of the table spaces, so everything is in here. So on the other side, we also included some tasks here. So for the NiCE feature that is available in the Squared Up dashboard. So if you, for example, go to the instance status, and let's say we get a call from somebody, Oracle slow, we have a problem, and I just logged in and did some queries, and it even got slower. So we actually monitor the queries. For example, here you see right now I highlight that the queries with high CPU usage, or table scans, or queries that are having a long time running. So, but obviously, if you right now want to see what's going on Oracle, actually, you can use those tasks. So right now in here, we can actually go in and say, well, give me please all the CPU heavy queries running right now on Oracle, and you can go in and execute that, and then gives you back those information here right now in a SQL state view, and then from that you can actually give it over to the either application team, or you can actually go it over to a ticket and then take it from there.
And that's really valuable. That's something we've shown as a demo with a management pack that Tao Yang put together for us briefly to show how to do that with SQL Server, because that is not available in the standard SQL Server management pack from Microsoft. So it is a really really great use case, a really good example of what SCOM can do with those tasks.
Right, you run that task with no expertise on Oracle required. You haven't had to switch context, use a different tool, grant users access to stuff. It's brilliant.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, so and it doesn't stop on that. The Oracle Management Pack has a user-defined configuration option. So if you want to run as query XYZ like every 5 minutes, get the result, want to put a threshold on that, or you want to just get the output attached here to a task output, you can do that with the Management Pack. So just like there's a file, you configure the SQL, and then you actually run that through the task, and just takes the CPU time that's need to collect that task, and you're good. You have that information right in the dashboard.
Great.
Yep. So yeah, obviously there's also the Oracle on Windows world. So we have all the Oracle database on Windows. So we have a couple of more here. We have more table spaces. We have tons of instances. We can compare right away here. So database sizes in gigabyte, we can see that trending over time. We can also see the SLA. So there are these a number of perspectives we added. So obviously they're easy to adjust. So customers typically go pretty quickly in there and add their own requirements depending what the Oracle team want to see. So that's pretty easy to add. So there are about 60 different performance counters we write to the data warehouse, which can be added here. This is just like a starting set, and can be adjusted as needed. So yeah, that's for Oracle, and there's one for DB2 as well. So it doesn't stop with Oracle. So we are planning SAP, and probably once we have the Office 365, all going, and add dashboards for those as well.
And one thing I noticed as well on one of the previous screens there with the monitors, a lot of the monitors are turned off by default. So again, you're not going to spam us with noise when you put the management pack in.
Exactly. So this is basically on coming through the experience over the many years we're doing. So we have a very more or less silent management pack. So we only monitor like which really gives you the core, right? So and then if your Oracle DBA comes in and says, I have this requirements and that, you actually can go and then turn the monitors on. So
great. And sort of broadening out a little bit, Christian, you work with Linux a lot. I know a lot of customers we've spoken to have had mixed success with monitoring Linux on scale, so monitoring kind of large number of Linux boxes. Are there any magic wins there, sort of tips and tricks?
So yes, for everybody on the call who is like not so familiar with the Linux, just one point here is first thing you have to understand is that the SCOM agent for Linux is like 100% different code than the Microsoft Health Service, the MMA. So it is a complete different architecture. It has a different approach. So the approach here is actually that it is a passive agent, while the MMA actually has its own scheduling and so on. The Linux Unix agent is more or less what we call a provider. So it gets data if the data is requested. So it's hanging idle on the system, and once a monitoring workflow is started in the SCOM management group, the data gets collected, and then the agent is basically idle. This has good and bad sides. So the good side is your colleagues in the application team who have like whatever application on there, being at an Apache or an MySQL or something like that, they will love the agent because it will not use any of their resources. The other side of the story is at your end, all the work's going to be done in the management group. So in your management group, you have your management servers and you have your so-called Linux resource pools, and you want to make sure that they are scaled correctly. Otherwise, you might run into an issue that your management servers are not responding or not performing anymore. So this is one point you should be aware from an architecture. The first point.
Yeah. So generally, what we see customers do is they will create their own resource pool. Those management servers will be dedicated just to serving Unix, Linux agents. There will be no Windows agents assigned to those, and typically you can even take it a step further through some hacks and make it so that those management servers aren't running any synthetic transactions or any of the other sort of group calculation workflows either. So they literally just do cross-platform monitoring and nothing else.
Yeah, that's typically very good advice here, good practice to do that, because this way you can then do a performance graphing on that and see like how it behaves if you add like 10 additional Linux servers and another 10, and you go on, and this way you can very good make sure that there are no problems. We have seen customers that just wrote a management pack with an incorrect rule for Linux Unix monitoring, and that didn't perform. So it just like, yeah, you must make sure that the cook down on things work, because the work is actually done in the management group. You should always be aware of that.
And Christian, you mentioned about the Linux agent being a different sort of code base. That's actually an open source code base for the Linux agent. Is that correct?
Yeah, very, very good point, Richard. So yeah, so if for those who like to dig into that, go to GitHub. Actually, Microsoft is top contributor on GitHub now since last year. So actually, most of the commits, yeah. If you would wonder like ServiceNow or any of those like contributing more, but Facebook I think is number 2, but number 1 is like Microsoft. So all the commits, including this agent and the providers and the monitoring infrastructure, are on GitHub. So you can go in there and get your hands dirty basically, and you can actually do change documentation for that agent, and then Microsoft actually you can do a pull request and it gets in there. So it's very, very agile and open. So this is a good point for us, because we can actually then enable our providers we do for this product to also give data from Oracle, DB2, and others to the SCOM infrastructure. So and it helps us to support, and the point, Richard, you made, we can also build on other platforms.
Right. So again, going back to the topic at the survey at the start, like if you have some Linux servers sat around or some Unix servers sat around that you can't monitor with SCOM today, let us know, let Christian know, and we can probably get an agent working on them that then you can start monitoring it with. Yeah, that was also the Z-Linux, like on S390X and those exotic platforms. So they're always customs who have those requirements. So we'll build agent basically based on that. So yeah. So if you have any needs, let us know.
And talking about sort of the modern Microsoft, I guess there's also SQL on Linux, so Microsoft SQL Server on Linux, which is a new space, which I guess nicely straddles a few worlds for you, Christian.
Yes, actually, when that came out, like as a TP4, I think in March this year, like I got it ready, and actually it's running on a container. So those of you who are familiar with containers, so it kind of either run on the Windows Container Engine or the Linux Container Engine, and you can just put it in there as a container. It works very easy. So and then you can power it up the SQL server, and then you can actually start to create a database on there, or what you also can do, you can export like the SCOM database or like in any other database, and migrate over to the Linux server, and then try performance comparison. And there are actually quite some good performance comparison out there already. And there are some things where actually that works even faster than on the Windows world. So that's kind of interesting. So yeah, so you can all kinds of, and there's a management pack. Sure, there's a management pack for SQL Server on Linux as well. So it's a technology preview as well, but yeah, you can use it as well.
Well, if it's faster, let's hope the SCOM team starts supporting Operations Manager on Linux as well.
Yeah, I won't hold my
Well,
breath.
that would be a question to you, right, Richard? What if you screwed up?
Yeah. All right, fantastic. I think we've gone a little bit over, but that's a really interesting conversation. Christian, thanks for all of your different advice and developments, I guess, across these different management packs. Thanks for joining us today and taking the time out of your day to help explain all these things to us.
Sure, you're welcome. Thanks. And if there are any questions, feel free to put it now in the chat or reach out by email.
Christian will stay on with us for Q&A afterwards. So if you have questions, definitely put them in the chat window. Okay, I think we should probably wrap up because we've gone a little bit long. But remember to stay on the line for those of you who want to see the sneak peek. So as per always, if you want to let us know what you'd like us to cover, go to squareup.com/topics. We have a short survey there you can take where you can let us know what topics you'd be interested in seeing us cover. And also we have a freeform box there. So if you've got some wild and wonderful idea, let us know and hopefully we'll cover it in a future episode. You can see what's coming up next on our microsite, squareup.com/coffee-break series. And you can also register there for upcoming webinars, or send that link to a colleague if you think, actually, hey, this is really good content, they'd like this too. The slides and recordings are published via our blog on squareup.com/blog, along with a wealth of other great content. So make sure you definitely check that out if you haven't. And also, if you've heard us talking about, say, Sean Williams and Purdy last week and previous sessions, we have a YouTube playlist for this series, where you can go and look at all the different episodes we've recorded, covering a wealth of different Squared Up topics. So it's definitely worth checking that out if you haven't done so already.
So next week's webinar will be on some Squared Up 3.2 topics, which we're doing a deep dive.
I think so. We might be doing V2 to V3 migration next week, actually. But yeah, so we've got a webinar this Thursday on our 3.2 release. But as a sneak peek, and just for people who are on the webinar now, so not for YouTube recording, sorry, we're going to show off one little feature.
There you go, Christian. Hopefully you'll enjoy that and get 3.2 installed into your lab environment.
Oh, I love that. It's like always using the hitting back button or something. Yeah, so that helps a lot.
Great. All right. Thanks, Matthew, for that sneak peek. So we will be going through all of that and everything else in 3.2. It's a fantastic release that's shaping up. We'll be taking you all through that on Thursday. So please do join us on Thursday for that release webinar.
Yep, exactly. And for the rest of you as well, stay online now for Q&A. Our engineering team are online, as well as Christian. So if you have any questions, please let us know. Thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next week.